Hi everyone. Today we did get a really choppy session here. Chopped on the level a lot. 559.76 broke up and down through that level. Doesn't seem to be affecting markets as much. It seems like we're stuck between this kind of trend line in this consolidation area here. So not watching that level as strongly. I still think it's important, but markets didn't seem to care. And we did start to sell off as I expected. We gapped down, hit those areas of resistance and sold off. But then we got some news around potential China talks, and that spiked the market here at the end of the session. Is that going to be able to hold? I doubt it. This really looks like a left shoulder, head, right shoulder here. But let's take a look at all of the charts and see if we can find some direction for tomorrow. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So in news today, we got Besant coming out and saying that he is going to meet with his Chinese counterparts and engage in trade and economic deal making. And if you're wondering, this is exactly why markets did spike up at the end of the session. And you can see it here, Besant as well as Trade Representative Greer will meet with Chinese counterparts in Switzerland this week to discuss economic and trade matters. Does that mean anything is going to happen? I would say it's extremely unlikely. We continue to say that we need China to make the first move and de-escalate, which is certainly not likely to happen in my opinion. Not in the near term. They are very staunch and stubborn, and it seems like we are set to be the same. But either way, this is why markets are spiking at the end of the session, seeing huge spikes in the futures market as well as the after hours. You can see big dip down here for the Tuesday and then traded sharply higher on the news of these meetings. So that's the spike. That's what we're seeing in markets. Moving over to fear and greed, still at a 57 or 56. That's right in the same range we've been in, even with the downturn over the last couple days. Fear and greed has not moved. Strength still continuing to go higher there. Breadth also in extreme greed. Put call ratio still hovering, has not really moved over the last couple days. VIX going higher today and safe haven demand pulling back. Interesting. And then junk bonds still in extreme greed. So pretty mixed across the board. This is kind of where I thought we were going to turn down, and I still think that that is a possibility. Moving over to earnings for today, we did get AMD, and they absolutely blew it out of the water. Huge spike from AMD. That did carry a little bit of markets higher, not everything. Some sympathy plays in the semiconductor space, but most things are popping on the news that we talked about with potential China talks. And then for tomorrow, you have Uber, Walt Disney, ARM, again, another semi play. That'll be interesting. And that'll pretty much wrap it up for this earnings season. There's a few left out there. ConocoPhillips, Monster Beverage, but not much. Most of the big players are already in, and it wasn't a terrible earnings season. Moving over to the economic calendar for tomorrow, Atlanta Fed GDP came in at 2.2%. That just seems fake. So they spiked it way up, way higher than expectations. I don't know what they're doing over there, but their previous read was much lower, and they were much closer to the actual GDP numbers on that. And then the 10-year note auction came in a little bit lower. That's good. And then for tomorrow, we have the FOMC press conference and decision at 1400. That's going to be a pause, but we have to see what they have to say about the current geopolitical risk. Tariffs, when are they going to cut? Are they going to cut? That is the big concern. They also said the last meeting they were going to slow down the rate at which they were allowing bonds to roll off. So I want to see what this Fed balance sheet says. On the Thursday, I've seen some rumors going around about potential quantitative easing starting to pick up a little bit for markets. I don't really think that that is going to be a permanent fixture. Maybe they were just supporting one of the bond auctions in the short term. We'll see. It'll be definitely interesting to see what they have to say about it tomorrow. And then moving over here to the SPY charts, we did get a decline of about 1%, 0.8%, right back to that 55 EMA. Did close below the level of 559.76. You can see that here we faded into the close on the hourly chart, and then look at that massive spike up about 1%, taking us back to basically the close from the previous day there. So we're right at that level here. Are we going to hold in here? Probably not. Like I said, I think this is kind of a head and shoulders pattern, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Are we going to form that right shoulder into the FOMC, and then that's going to accelerate us down to that 550 area? I certainly think that is a possibility. I am absolutely bearish from here. Still think this zone of resistance is this 200 SMA, the 569.90 level. Can we get anywhere near that? Are we going to throw some wicks to the 200 on FOMC day? It's certainly a possibility. Momentum continues to step down. RSI continues to step down. I think this broader trend is going to take hold here, which means high, lower high, lower high. Does this result in a low, lower low, lower low. That is what we are waiting to see tomorrow. And moving over here to the SPY charts, you can see we were bearish all session, came up to the trailing stop 563.08, and then we rejected from there, went back to lower lows. I thought we would get back below this low here. We ended up double bottoming at that level, and then you can see the massive spike actually pushing us back into bullish conditions. Really doesn't change the price target to the downside because that is right at the ATR band. That'd be around 553.30 if we did get that continued sell-off here. But for me, this continues to look bearish. You can see these ATR bands continuing to trend to the downside. We haven't really seen this completely roll over like this in a while. And like I said, I think this is probably going to go lower, potentially to that target, potentially to that 144 EMA in that 554.30 area. Moving over to the NASDAQ, similar thesis, down about 1%, ended up going much lower, almost to the level 447. The low of day was almost to 477. The low of day was 478. So we got very, very close to that level, almost hit that support, and then rallied up here, right back to that next level, 486.84 was the level there. But either way, we are getting this continued roll here. That 9 EMA 477.94 is going to be resistance. Are we going to get through there tomorrow? Are we going to get through this trend line tomorrow? 200 still overhead resistance. Do they say something really dovish and we get a huge push through that level? That would be interesting. Your next level to the upside would be 498.96, right in line with that 144 EMA. Do we make it to there before this rolls over? Hard to say. Momentum continues to roll to the bear side. RSI continues to roll to the bear side. But of course, that spike in the after hours, pretty big shift there. And then moving over to the Tasty charts here for the NASDAQ, similar thesis to the SPY charts. We did dip all the way down to that lowest ATR band, kind of grinded along that in the pre-market, got above the 89 EMA on the hourly. That was at a 480, and then we ended up rallying through there, almost hitting the trailing stop at 485, pulled back to that 89 once again, held that level, and then we got that news in the after hours pushing us back into bullish conditions. The ATR bands are still moving lower. The low target there would be the 475.40 area. The trailing stop right now 475.60. So if we do get a bearish move, that's what I'm looking for. If we do get a bullish move, you're looking for that upper band pretty much back to the highs here from the second. That upper band is right now at 489.70 or so. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, both of these gap down, falling around 1% each as we expected them to. Momentum rolling to bearish, RSI rolling to bearish on both of these. They're still above the SMA, maybe they bounce there, but right now I have to assume that we're going to see a pretty substantial pullback, at least to the 21 EMA. That's what I'm looking for in the short term, and then we'll see what happens after that. Moving over to the Mag 7, Mag 7 fell over 1% as well. Momentum continues to step down here. RSI continues to step down here. Still hasn't touched the SMA, just like everything else. Still looking at this to pull back into this zone here around 265. 21 EMAs, 262.50. This is the zone that we're looking for. Still have the gap fill here to fill, expecting that to get filled as well. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple fell a little bit less than markets, but it did fall down about 0.25%. Microsoft down about 0.5%, continuing to throw wicks in this area. Is it going to fill some of this gap here? Momentum fading. It is super overbought. Structurally, still very bullish relative to everything else, but we are super extended here. And then Apple continues to show a topping pattern, still looking at this to pull back at least to this low, potentially the trend in here as well, 191, and then the next level would be 186.81 to the downside. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, you got staples down about 1/4, discretionaries closer to 1%. Momentum on both of these continues to fade, and you can see discretionaries testing that 197.14 level, did catch a little bit of a bounce from there. As this continues to fade through here, I'm expecting that 21 EMA as the target. 191.34 is that level. Either way, though, looking for this to sell either to here or through back down to these lows around 174 to 180. Moving over to 20 and 50-day breadth, you can see 20-day continues to fade off here, starting to accelerate a little bit. Once this dips below 68, I think this is going to go quite fast. Maybe tomorrow FOMC is what accelerates this here, but we hit peak, we've started to sell off. I think this is going to go pretty soon. And then 50-day, same thesis, hit that trend line, started to sell, another step down on breadth, almost 6%, looking for that 40 level as your next zone of support. Moving over to bonds. Bonds did end up holding in here today. TLT did get a nice move up of about 1/3% as we expected in here, higher low setup, and I do expect that to continue to improve through FOMC. Everything that they should say tomorrow should be pointed at lower rates at some point in the future, which to me says TLT should be headed higher. So continuing to like bonds in here, J&K staying in here as well. Overall, still like these to go higher. Buying opportunities. Moving over to the VIX. The VIX continues to roll here to the upside. Momentum swinging to bullish. RSI swinging to bullish. I suspect we'll get through that SMA tomorrow, just waiting for the catalyst of the FOMC. Overall, for me, looks like a higher low setup. Looking for this to push at least to the 33 to maybe 37 area. Moving over to my accounts, I traded in and out quite a few times. Actually, you can see 6 round trip trades. A little bit more than I wanted to. And honestly, I probably should have stayed out, but I thought we had a couple of moves, and I did get squeezed on that initial rally. It was more aggressive than I thought, and then after that, I was able to make some of it back, which was fine. Not all of it, but some of it. Overall, still not as bad as the broader markets on the day. We'll see if that after hours move holds. I do not believe that it will. I think FOMC is going to drive us lower. I don't think even the speculation around some China talks is going to be enough to continue to drive markets higher, at least in the short term. So for now, still looking at the bearish thesis, and I am glad that I did not hold those bearish positions into the close, as they would be pretty underwater. Again, I still expect that to fade tomorrow. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of the potential China talks. Should markets be jumping on it, or is it going to be nothing and we're going to sell off over the weekend as we get the news that the China talks result in nothing and markets continue to move back down from overbought conditions? Or will it be something and we will rocket to all-time highs? Put it down in the comments. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.